Regions of North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee are still grappling with the destruction left in the wake of Hurricane Helene. Numerous remote affected areas say they aren't receiving government help, but stories are flowing in of communities stepping up and coming together to help one another through the carnage. Joining us now is a husband and wife in eastern Tennessee who are doing their best to support their community, which has been left in ruins. John Strydom and Angela Greene, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Great to meet you.
Good morning.
Absolutely.
Nice
Thank
to meet
you. Now, first off, what's it like on the ground where you are in Rowan Mountain, East Tennessee this morning?
Wow. It's we've lived in a lot of different areas, and this is probably the worst disaster we've ever seen. There's still roads that are down, trees down, back areas where they're still inaccessible, and people trying to help one another to get supplies, get resources in. You know, the community's been amazing. If not for like our neighbors, we wouldn't have even been able to leave our house because they cleared the roads.
Wow. So in terms of the, yeah, please.
Sorry, I lived in the Florida Keys for 16 years and stayed for every hurricane up until Irma. Irma I missed, and I was up in Alaska at the time. And I can tell you that the disaster around here matches anything that we've seen at ground level, at ground zero, where Florida when hurricanes come ashore. And Alaska, of course, we have the earthquakes and the landslides. And just the locals over here are incredible. They pull together. It's like one big family. All you hear when you're driving down the road, do you need anything? Are you okay? Do you need, and they'll get teams together with chainsaws, come and clear your driveway. They've got the tractors out. It's a farming community. So they've got the tractors out clearing boulders out of the road that washed out from the culverts. It's just amazing.
Yeah, that does sound incredible. And what have you been doing as part of that effort to bring resources and relief to your community?
Well, it started with I work remotely and we don't have access to decent internet, so we obtained Starlink, and at the house the power went out, so we couldn't use it at the house. And John has a gun shop in the town of Rowan Mountain, and so Sunday we took it off the pole at our house and brought it down to see if we can get it to work at the shop, and it did. And it was literally the only lifeline for people to the outside world. I was able to contact our Senator Marshburn, who was able to coordinate with the county commissioner to bring Starlinks and some generators in. But literally the communication and infrastructure was so lacking. It was horrifying to me. I work in healthcare. We always have plans like for disaster and, taking care of our patients. And I mean, we were literally shut off from the outside world. And without that Starlink, it was literally the lifeline. The coordinated efforts at the Baptist church here in town. Even the nursing home didn't have service. They couldn't communicate with anybody in the outside world. They were there even doing their payroll to make sure their employees got paid. Hundreds of people, I kept waiting for the system to break, and it never did. It was amazing. But the most heart-wrenching thing is, as people were coming out, just calling their loved ones and letting them know they were alive. People were frantic trying to reach and connect each other, and there was just no communications. We had a Verizon emergency truck show up, I think it was Wednesday, 5 days later, which I'm just stunned and amazed. I'm grateful that we could come up with the idea to provide that service for the community and provide that lifeline and that connection for resources and to get resources in.
Absolutely. That sounds instrumental, and also such a relief on the emotional front. But the Verizon truck, you're saying, would have been directed from the government as a government resource. Is that correct?
I believe it would have. When I heard back from I think it was the governor's office, they said they were sending a truck, but it still took days to get here. And I don't understand. We were happy to provide the resource for communications, absolutely happy to do it. And we joked around, we actually set up a coffee pot and called it the Muddy Internet Cafe, because it was horribly, like, we're knee deep in mud. I mean, mud everywhere, and it's just exhausting. Yeah. Trying to clean it and not be able to even wash up and have water, it was just awful.
We've heard directly.
Go ahead.
Well, we've heard directly through reports that a lot of people in remote affected areas aren't receiving any government support and haven't seen any government presence on the ground. What's your experience where you are more broadly?
We had Army through one day. What was it, Tuesday?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday that the Army came through, a couple of Humvees. They did a couple of trucks that I saw up from Elizabethton. And then, well, I was pretty much at the shop, but every bit of traffic that came through town that needed internet or needed to make a phone call, at one stage I was the only, the gun shop had the only internet and phone link for, I think they said 40 or 50 miles around.
Yeah.
Because all the towers are out, everything. We had power at the shop and Starlink. So we had up to 30 cars parked in front of my shop and up to 4 people inside each car, everybody on their phone at once. And Starlink didn't hesitate a moment. It didn't drop a signal. But we saw Army. We never saw a FEMA. I never saw a FEMA truck.
What help from the federal government is most needed right now?
What's really needed is they need dumpsters for cleanup. If we can get the National Guard out here, because there's no place to put all the debris. And if you came here and saw all the debris, I mean, it's people's life out on the street, and it's really heartbreaking. I think that gravel road, being able to, clear the roads and be able to stabilize the roads for the infrastructure, the power crews. So the local groups, some of them have graders. They help dig their neighbors out, reestablish connection like driveways and the bridges. But honestly, like, there's so much more help needed. People, they need like propane, lamp oil, winter gear, boots, socks, because we've been knee deep in mud, and it's just awful. Laundry detergent, just being able to wash your hands after dealing with this mud, and who knows what's in it.
We just need the government to actually show up and pay attention over here, because the general feeling is that we've pretty much done everything. It's the locals over here that's been helping locals. We've been helping people that came across the border from North Carolina. North Carolina is just a short way from here. And, our county has been helping everybody and not turning anybody away. And it's just amazing over here. We just need outside to feel that we're not, forgotten.
Yeah. John, as far as search and rescue efforts go, are they still ongoing? Are there still people missing in your area?
Yes. Yeah, there's people that are still unaccounted for. People, a lot of them are just, there's a lot of houses way up in the hills with a very narrow track to reach them. And when trees are down or things are washed out, it's difficult to reach them. And if they haven't walked out by now, we had the 4th day out after the storm, I think.
Yeah. There
was suddenly a whole new flood of people that had come in that had managed to overcome the trees across their driveways and walk out, or literally come on foot across the ridge, and suddenly hit town. And they looked like they were shell shocked. You ever go past a bad traffic accident on the freeway and you see those people walking around like they shell shocked? And these people were like that days after the flood. We have approximately 60 people, I think, that are still unaccounted for in this area. That's the numbers I heard yesterday.
So we've heard from some residents in affected areas that the destruction and loss of life is far greater than what's being reported in the media.
Yes.
As someone who's in one of those areas, what you're experiencing, does that reflect what you've seen in the news?
Yes. I mean, and
that's an understatement.
They haven't recovered bodies because they're covered in mud. Some of them, like at Spruce Pine, we heard reports that the bodies were 20 feet up in the trees because the water that blasted through just lifted everything up. And, they may never recover some of the folks because they're just buried in mud. I mean, it's unreal.
Can I show you a picture on my phone? What a typical mud bank looks like?
Oh. Yeah, if you have a photo there, we can try and see if we can see it.
Yeah.
It's it's a little shocking. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, sorry, there's so many of them.
Yeah, but you know the folks that are unaccounted, like the Doe River overflowed. We did hear the sirens go off early in the morning on Friday, and quite a few people evacuated. But like their houses just got swept away. I mean, our shop was filled with 4 to 6 inches of mud. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, from what I understand, you've got the photo there?
Sorry. If you can, this is an example
Ah, yes.
of what it,
Devastating.
you know, a typical.
It looks
This
like
is a
the
friend of
roof
mine's
is
place up in the hill.
okay.
So that's a Jeep on top. There's a four-wheeler to the left of the picture that you can see. And there's two more underneath it and a whole shed underneath that. And that's about 8 or 9 feet of mud that you're looking at over there.
Wow.
And, you know, he doesn't have any loss of life over there. But this is typical of choke points where the mud and the rocks and the branches, if somebody was washed down the river and they get caught in the branches, there's no way of escaping that lot. And then the mud piles on top of them and they'll find them eventually, or the crows will find them first.
And despite this tragedy, you know, you've really spoken a lot about your community coming together to help one another, which is so heartwarming. Yeah. What's that been like for you?
We've been humbled by it. You know, a group of volunteers came to the gun shop to help us clean, and it was a group of ladies who came in with shovels, ready to work and happy to work, and they helped clear, I think it's over 2,000 square feet of 4 to 6 inches of mud.
About 2.5 tons of mud that they took out of my shop. Yeah. Wow. I'm mid-60s, you know, a big snow shovel load of mud weighs a lot of, and after you've lifted 600 or 800 shovel loads, I was tired.
Yeah, and
they came in like angels.
One of our culverts and bridges to our houses was blown out, as so many people here. And our neighbor, we came home and our neighbor had rebuilt it without even telling us. I mean, literally, we were so thankful for them. And of all the people we can live among, it's just amazing group of people.
That's very touching. Do you think that your community will come out stronger and closer through this?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. We have a lot of connections and a lot of people, especially like in front of our cafe, the internet cafe. They really reached out to each other face to face, saw the suffering and responded. And, you know, there's so many stories, so many wonderful people, so many, you know, examples, you know, people who have ATVs going out into the deep back hollers there, you know, where they're 5 days and some of them without oxygen for that long. And I mean, it's just been horrifying to see the suffering, but people have responded.
Yeah, which reminds me, I'm getting 30 sleds that have been donated, I think from Ohio. Okay. They're coming to the shop today. They're the type of sleds that they would tow behind a four-wheeler. Because the guys there are some areas over here and towards Asheville where they're using mule trains because the roads are just non-existent.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And mule trains and four-wheelers are the only way to get in. And with a sled behind a four-wheeler, it'll triple his payload because all they can carry is on the four-wheeler or in a backpack, you know. But if they've got these big, 5-footer, I haven't seen them yet. They're coming on a truckload, and somebody donated 30 of them. So
you're getting help.
If anybody around here sees this, come to the gun shop in Roan Mountain. Any of the rescue and search groups. If you're using four-wheelers, I'll have sleds for you guys for donation as well. We've
become kind of the de facto communication center and connection point for a lot of people. Folks who are missing, to be able to find loved ones. We found that connecting resources, because so many people see like us set up with Wi-Fi and like, okay, everybody's here, so they must know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of unofficial, but we're trying to direct people to help and resources if they're coming in whenever possible.
And how can people contact you?
Oh, I don't even know. I've lost track. You know, I have a lot of friends on Facebook who are wonderful from so many areas of the country. Again, I work in healthcare, and friends I've worked with, coworkers I've worked with, They're sending supplies up. We're going to pick up a supply in Charlotte probably on Saturday. My son lives there, and his church is putting together groups. So we're just trying to bring things that are needed right now. Cleaning supplies, winter gear,
clothing, bedding,
socks, slippers.
There's people that are standing around. What they're wearing, what they're standing in, is all they have left.
Yeah,
They managed to walk out, and they're the kind of there's a lot of homes that are right down near the water that are now there's just a patch of mud and gravel and rocks over there where a home used to stand. So they didn't get out with clothing or anything. That's nothing. They're standing in what they're wearing.
Yeah.
That's all they own now.
Is there any way that people who may not have a personal connection with you yet can reach out to offer help?
Oh yeah. On Facebook, it's Second Amendment Arts is the gun shop. Let's Talk Rowan Mountain is a Facebook group that's coordinating efforts, and we'll probably put anybody who contacts them through. That's probably the easiest way. The Baptist Church here in town and Shell Creek Church, those churches. I mean, any of the churches here in town, the fire department, all of those are connecting resources as well as the school, Cloudland High School and elementary.
Okay, great. And what do you think people can do to best help with relief efforts?
They could send supplies up here. They could also donate. Callista Florist here in town has started a GoFundMe that's going to be, I believe, distributed by the Civitan Club. It's ethical. It's legitimate. The resource is going to help our community members directly. And this is a person at a beautiful flower shop and flowers, and it's all gone, and her house is flooded, and she's still doing this, trying to coordinate. So these are the kind of people we're around. People look to Alaskans as the toughest of the toughest, and I have to say here, I've revised that opinion because they're really tough here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, John, Strydom, Angela Greene. Just thank you so much for your time and your efforts.
Thank you. And
thank you very much for all you do.
Please feel free to reach out to us and see if we can help our community. Thank you.